My name is Ryan, and just a year ago, I thought I had the perfect life. I was married to a beautiful, smart, and caring woman named Emily. We had been together for almost 6 years, and I truly believe we were happy. We had a nice house in a quiet neighborhood, steady jobs, and plans to start a family soon. Life was calm, stable, and full of love, or so I thought. Emily and I met in college. From the very beginning, we clicked. We laughed at the same jokes, stayed up late talking about our dreams, and supported each other through hard times. After we graduated, we worked hard, saved money, and built a life together. We weren't rich, but we had enough. More importantly, we had each other. She used to be my best friend. We would go on long walks, cook together, and share everything. I could tell her anything, and she would always listen. She made me feel safe, loved, and understood. I thought I did the same for her. But over the last year, things started to change. It was small at first. She started going out more with friends, checking her phone a lot, and being less interested in spending time together. I didn't think much of it. I thought maybe she was just stressed from work or needed a little space. I trusted her completely, so I didn't worry. Looking back now, I wish I had paid more attention. I wish I had asked more questions or seen the signs earlier, because everything that came next, it broke me in ways I never imagined. What I didn't know was that someone was whispering in her ear, changing the way she saw me and our marriage. That person was her newly divorced best friend. And thanks to her influence, my world was about to fall apart. Everything started to change when Emily's old friend Tanya came back into her life. Tanya had recently gone through a messy divorce. She moved back to our city and reconnected with Emily after a few years apart. At first, I didn't think much of it. Emily was happy to see her friend again, and I thought it was nice that she had someone to talk to. But soon, Tanya was around all the time. She came over almost every weekend. Sometimes she stayed late into the night, drinking wine with Emily and laughing loudly in the kitchen. Other times, they went out together to bars, clubs, or girls' nights that lasted until early morning. Emily would come home smelling like perfume and alcohol, tired but smiling. I started to feel like a stranger in my own home. Tanya was different from the people we usually spend time with. She was bold, loud, and had strong opinions about everything, especially about relationships. She often talked about how marriage was a trap, how women needed to be free, and how cheating wasn't really a big deal anymore. She said things like, "All men cheat. Why shouldn't women do the same?" Or, "You only live once. Don't waste your best years being tied down." At first, Emily would just laugh at those comments. But after a while, she started agreeing with her. She began saying things like, "Maybe Tanya's right," or "People aren't meant to be with just one person forever." I didn't know where all this was coming from. We had never talked like this before. It felt like she was slowly turning into someone I didn't know. I tried to talk to her about it, but she brushed me off. "You're overthinking," she said. "Tanya is just joking around." But it didn't feel like a joke anymore. Tanya had become a constant presence in our life, and not in a good way. One night, I walked into the kitchen and overheard part of their conversation. Tanya was saying, "You've only ever been with Ryan. How do you even know what else is out there? Don't you ever wonder?" Emily didn't say anything at first. Then she answered softly, "Sometimes, yeah." That was the moment I knew something was wrong. Really wrong. But I still didn't understand just how far it would go. I thought maybe it was just a phase. I thought Emily would come back to me, to us. I had no idea that this friend, this one person, would destroy everything we had built together. After Tanya came into our lives, things started to go downhill fast. The woman I married, the woman I loved with all my heart, was slipping away from me, and I didn't know how to stop it. Emily became distant. She didn't laugh at my jokes anymore. She didn't hold my hand when we watched movies or sit close to me like she used to. Her eyes were always on her phone. She was always texting someone, smiling at messages I couldn't see. I asked her who it was once, and she said, "Just Tanya." I wanted to believe her. We started fighting. Small things turned into big arguments. If I asked where she was going, she'd snap at me. If I asked when she'd be home, she'd say, "Why do you care?" Like I was being controlling just for wanting to spend time with my own wife. The love between us started to feel one-sided. I was still trying, planning dinners, sending sweet messages, asking if we could talk. She barely noticed. Her answers were short, cold, and sometimes cruel. "Stop acting like everything is fine," she once said. Maybe we were never really happy. Those words cut deep. Then one night, she brought up something I never expected. An open marriage. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She sat me down and said, "I think we should try seeing other people just for a while. Not emotionally, just physically. It's healthy. A lot of couples do it." My heart dropped. I asked her why. She said she felt trapped, like she had missed out on life. She said being with one person forever didn't make sense anymore. "Tanya says it saved her," she added, like that was supposed to comfort me. I told her no. I said I wasn't okay with that. I said I loved her and wanted to fix things, not break us further. But she kept pushing. She said it was just sex, that it wouldn't mean anything. She even made me feel guilty, like I was the problem for not letting her grow. I felt helpless. I didn't want to lose her, so I did something I never thought I'd do. I gave in. I agreed to the open marriage, thinking maybe it would be temporary. Maybe she would try it, realize it didn't make her happy, and come back to me. I held on to that hope. But I didn't date anyone else. I couldn't. I was still deeply in love with my wife. I couldn't imagine being with another woman while still wearing my wedding ring. Emily, on the other hand, didn't wait long. Just a week later, she started going out at night again. New dresses, new makeup, coming home late, avoiding my eyes. She never told me who she was seeing, but I knew. I knew by the way she smiled at her phone. I knew by how cold she had become toward me. There was someone else. I was sleeping next to a stranger. Sometimes I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how we got here. We were supposed to grow old together. We were supposed to raise children, travel the world, and laugh at each other's gray hairs. Instead, I was watching my wife fall in love with someone else, right in front of me. I kept hoping things would go back to normal, that she'd remember the life we had built, that she'd realize Tanya's advice wasn't the answer. But with each passing day, she drifted further away. And deep down, I began to feel it. The woman I married was gone. When Emily and I agreed to the open marriage, I felt like I had already lost her. It wasn't something I truly wanted. I only said yes because I was scared of losing her completely. But looking back, that decision broke me more than I could ever explain. Emily changed almost overnight. She began going out more often, sometimes 3 or 4 nights a week. She would spend hours getting ready. New clothes, more makeup, perfume I'd never smelled before. She looked beautiful, but not for me. She barely spoke as she left the house. And when she came home, she'd avoid eye contact and go straight to the shower. Some nights, she didn't come home at all. I didn't ask questions. I was too afraid of the answers. I tried to keep myself busy. I focused on work, picked up new hobbies, even tried meeting new people online, but my heart wasn't in it. I still loved Emily. I didn't want to be with anyone else. While she was out with other men, I was home alone, sitting in silence, hoping she'd change her mind and come back to me. But she didn't. She became colder, distant, like a roommate I barely knew. We stopped eating meals together. We stopped talking about our day. She no longer asked how I was, and I stopped asking her, because I already knew the answer. She was happier without me. One night, she came home around 2 a.m. I was still awake, sitting on the couch. She looked surprised to see me. She said, "You don't have to wait up." I asked her gently, was it worth it? She didn't answer. She just stared at me like I was a stranger. I saw it in her eyes. She didn't feel guilty. A few days later, I overheard her talking on the phone in the next room. She was laughing, whispering, and then she said something that made my stomach turn. I'm starting to fall for him. That was the moment I knew it wasn't just about sex. It never was. She was emotionally attached to someone else, even though she swore she wouldn't be. The rules of our open marriage were broken, not by me but by her. And yet, I couldn't even be angry. I just felt numb. I started noticing other signs. She'd get texts late at night and smile when she read them. She'd change her phone password. She spent weekends away and said she was just with friends. But I knew I wasn't stupid. She was with him. At this point, even Tanya wasn't around as much. It was like she had set the fire and walked away, leaving us to burn. I sometimes wondered if Tanya had done this on purpose. Maybe she was bitter about her own failed marriage and wanted Emily to follow the same path. Or maybe she just didn't care about the damage she was causing. I tried to talk to Emily again, to tell her I missed her, that I still loved her. I asked her if we could go to counseling, take a break from the open marriage, and try to fix what we had. She looked at me with pity and said, "Ryan, we're too far gone." I didn't recognize the woman standing in front of me. The person I married would have never said those words. I started sleeping in the guest room. We barely spoke at all. It was like we were living two separate lives under one roof. And the worst part? She seemed fine with it, like she had already moved on. I, on the other hand, felt like I was dying a little more every day. I kept telling myself this was just a phase, that maybe she'd come back to her senses, that the man she was seeing would break her heart, and she'd realize what she lost. But as time went on, that hope faded. One evening, she came home looking nervous. I could tell something was wrong. She sat down across from me and said quietly, "We need to talk." I braced myself. I thought she was going to ask for a divorce. But what she said next was worse than anything I had imagined. Emily sat across from me, looking nervous. Her hands were shaking slightly, and she couldn't meet my eyes. I already knew something was wrong, but I didn't expect what she was about to say. She took a deep breath and said, "I'm pregnant." For a moment, I couldn't speak. I just stared at her, trying to understand what I had just heard. Pregnant? We hadn't been intimate in months. There was no chance the baby was mine. My heart started pounding. I asked her quietly, "Is it mine?" She shook her head slowly. And just like that, everything inside me collapsed. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She just looked down at the floor like a child who got caught doing something wrong. Not because she regretted it, but because she didn't want to face the consequences. I stood up and walked to the other side of the room. I couldn't look at her. My hands were shaking, my chest felt tight, and I could barely breathe. "Whose is it?" I asked. She hesitated, then finally said, "It's his, the guy I've been seeing." The room went quiet. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But I didn't. I just stood there, staring out the window, feeling like my entire life had just ended. Everything we had, our marriage, our love, our future, it was all gone. She tried to explain. She said it wasn't planned. She said she didn't expect to fall for him, that it just happened. She told me she was confused, that she didn't mean to hurt me, but she had to follow her heart. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it sounded like something out of a bad movie. I asked her, "So what now? You're leaving?" She nodded slowly. "I think it's for the best. I'm moving in with him next week." That was it. No more pretending. No more open marriage. No more trying to work it out. She had already made her choice. I didn't beg her to stay. I didn't yell or curse or throw anything. I just stood there, feeling completely numb. The woman I had loved, trusted, and built my life with was carrying another man's child and walking away without looking back. As she packed her things over the next few days, I watched silently. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to feel anger. But all I felt was loss. A deep, heavy emptiness I couldn't explain. The day she left, she said, "I hope someday you can forgive me." I didn't answer. She walked out the door and didn't look back. That was the breaking point. The moment everything ended. The moment the love I thought would last forever shattered into pieces I couldn't put back together. After Emily left, my life fell apart. The house felt empty and cold. Every corner reminded me of her favorite chair, the dishes she always used, even the scent she left behind. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. I was angry, but mostly I was broken. I kept asking myself over and over, how did this happen? Why did she do this? Was I not enough? Friends and family tried to help. Some were kind and supportive. They told me, "You deserve better, and it's not your fault." Others judged me. They whispered behind my back or looked at me with pity, like I was a failure. It was hard to decide who to trust. I started seeing a therapist to help me understand my feelings. It was the first time I admitted to myself that I needed help. Talking to someone made me realize that what happened was not my fault. I had been manipulated, not just by Emily, but by Tanya, too. I remembered how Tanya had pushed Emily to open our marriage. How she told Emily that cheating was okay. How she encouraged her to leave me. I learned that Tanya had done this to other couples, too. She had a history of breaking up marriages because she couldn't handle her own pain. That made me feel a little better, not because it made what happened right, but because I knew I wasn't the only one who had suffered because of her. The divorce process was long and painful. Emily was pregnant with another man's child, but she insisted the baby didn't change anything between us. She wanted nothing to do with me anymore. I agreed to sign the papers. Even though my heart was screaming to hold on, the house was sold. Our shared memories packed away in boxes. I moved to a small apartment nearby. A fresh start, but also a painful reminder of everything I lost. I still saw Emily sometimes, at work, in the neighborhood, or through mutual friends. She looked happy. Sometimes I saw her holding the baby. It hurt more than I can say. People told me to move on. That time would heal me. That someday I would find love again. But for a long time, I didn't believe them. I felt alone, betrayed, and broken. Still, slowly, I began to rebuild. I found new hobbies. I reconnected with old friends. I focused on my career. I took small steps toward healing. Most importantly, I started to forgive myself. I wasn't the man who lost his wife because he wasn't good enough. I was the man who loved deeply, even when it hurt. I was the man who survived when everything fell apart. One day, maybe I will love again. But for now, I am learning to love myself. It has been many months since Emily left. The pain is still there sometimes, but it is not as sharp as before. I have started to heal. Slowly, I am learning to live again. At first, I felt lost. I didn't know who I was without her. Our whole life was built together. Our dreams, plans, even the little routines that made us happy. When she left, it felt like everything I knew disappeared. But life goes on. I had to find a way to keep moving forward. I started going to therapy regularly. Talking to someone who understood helped me a lot. I learned that what happened was not my fault. I was not to blame for Emily's choices or for Tanya's bad influence. That realization was freeing. I also learned to forgive, not to forget what happened, but to stop letting the pain control me. Forgiving Emily and Tanya did not mean I accepted their actions. It meant I was ready to let go of anger and bitterness, so I could find peace. Slowly, I began to focus on myself again. I took care of my health, went back to old hobbies, and made new friends. I remembered things that made me happy before Emily. Playing guitar, reading, hiking. One of the hardest parts was trusting people again. I was scared that if I opened my heart, I might get hurt once more. But I reminded myself that not everyone is like Emily or Tanya. Some people are kind and honest and deserve a chance. I even started dating again, carefully and slowly. It was strange at first, feeling nervous and unsure. But I realized that I still wanted love, just in a healthier way. I wanted respect, honesty, and real connection. Seeing Emily from a distance now is strange. Sometimes I wonder if she regrets what she did. Sometimes I feel sad for her, too. Carrying another man's child, leaving behind a life she built with me. I hope she finds a happiness she was searching for. But I have learned that I can't live in the past. I can't change what happened. What I can do is build a better future. For myself. Losing Emily broke my heart. But in many ways, it also opened my eyes. I learned to be stronger than I ever thought I could. I learned to value myself and my own happiness. I learned that love should never come with pain and betrayal. Now, I am ready to move forward, to find new dreams, new happiness, and maybe one day, a new love. But most importantly, I am ready to love myself. Because sometimes that's the hardest love of all and the most important.